It's a strange, creeping feeling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That specific kind of exhaustion where you haven't run a marathon, you haven't solved some complex physics equation,
Right?
but you feel completely hollowed out.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at your day and you realize you've just been, well, useful.
Useful is such a tricky word because it sounds like a compliment. I mean, we all want to be useful.
Yeah.
But there's a tipping point, a point where that utility starts to eat away at your identity. You become so reliable for everyone else that you sort of vanish.
Vanishing into usefulness. That is the incredibly cheerful topic for today's deep dive. But before you switch off, thinking this is another productivity hack list.
Or a lecture from some guy who takes ice baths at 3 a.m.
Exactly. I promise you, it's not that.
Not even close. In fact, it's pretty much the opposite of that whole hustle culture approach to setting boundaries.
We are looking at a really unique collection of source material today. It's a series of 10 stories, and the title is How to Stop Being Available to Everyone. The whole vibe is very specific. It's not a textbook.
It is unique. The author calls them Ghibli-inspired stories, and if you know those Studio Ghibli films, you know exactly what that means. It's not about aggression or, building walls.
No.
It's about rain on a window pane, steam rising from a cup of tea. It's about the quiet that happens when you finally just stop moving.
It's basically lo-fi beats to set emotional boundaries to.
Exactly. And the mission here is to explore how that constant availability erodes who we are and how we can use these really small, almost mundane moments to build ourselves back up. Because if you're available to everyone, you're eventually available to no one, least of all yourself.
So let's dive into this collection. It opens with a story called The Quiet After the Yes. And honestly, this first protagonist, I felt seen. And I did not like it.
It's a very relatable start. We meet this woman who is the designated yes person in her life. Not because she's a pushover necessarily, but just because she's competent.
Right. She's the one who answers the call, covers the shift, organizes the group gift. She is the structural integrity of her entire social circle.
She's the load-bearing wall of her friend group. But the story isn't about the busyness. It's about the silence. It's about a Sunday morning. She wakes up, and for once, her phone isn't buzzing. No crises. No one needs her. And instead of feeling relieved, how does she feel?
Anxious. The text says she feels like the world is holding its breath, just waiting for her to invent something to fix. That just struck me as so profound that silence can feel suspicious when you're used to noise.
It's the withdrawal symptom of validation. If your whole identity is built on, I'm the one who fixes things, then when there's nothing to fix, you don't exist. There is this incredible image where she's sitting by the window and she's watching a child ride a bicycle.
Yes, the kid has the focused intensity of someone attempting surgery. I loved that line.
And she's just watching him. She has no agenda. She isn't responsible for him. And in that moment, she realizes she's been fading. The author describes her as feeling like a drawing left in the sun.
Lighter, harder to see. That is such a haunting description of burnout. It's not that you explode, it's that you fade. You lose your saturation.
Precisely. You become translucent. And in that Sunday silence, she starts to solidify again. She makes tea slowly. She reads a book. She realizes that when she isn't needed, she sounds a little still, a little soft, and a little like herself.
Which sounds lovely, right? But here's the problem. And I think this is where the Ghibli vibe hits a wall called reality.
Yeah.
Because when you stop saying yes, you don't just feel peaceful, you feel guilty.
Mm-hmm. You feel like you need to explain yourself.
Exactly.
Which brings us perfectly to the second story, Letters I Never Needed to Write. This dives straight into the psychology of that guilt. The protagonist finds a box in his wardrobe, and it's full of letters he wrote but never sent.
And they aren't love letters, they're apology letters, but for the most ridiculous things.
Oh, yeah. Give me an example of the absurdity.
Okay, so he wrote a letter to a university friend apologizing for missing a party because he had the flu. He wrote to a former boss explaining a project delay that wasn't even his fault. He actually included footnotes.
The footnotes. It just shows how deep this neurosis goes. This isn't just politeness. This is what the text calls the burden of explanation.
He believes his existence is an inconvenience.
Yes, and he has to constantly file paperwork to apologize for it.
The one that really hit me, though, was the letter to his brother.
The Christmas letter.
12 pages. A 12-page letter explaining why he missed a family Christmas dinner 12 years ago.
It's a dissertation on his own guilt. He's acting like a defense attorney for his own life. But the turning point is when he realizes why he never sent any of them.
Because deep down, he knew it was kind of insane.
That, and he realized that a missed Christmas is just a fact. It's not a crime. It doesn't require defense. It just is. So he tears them all up, and at the bottom of the box, he finds this little note he'd written to himself.
I don't think I owe anyone an explanation for existing. I just keep forgetting.
That's the mantra. When you stop being available, you feel this urge to offer an excuse. I can't come because. This story argues you don't actually need the because. You can just be.
That's a hard shift to make, though, especially in social settings, because sometimes we're available even when we're technically off the clock.
Right. You're at a party, you're supposed to be having fun, but you're actually working. The source of material calls this the furniture syndrome. This is from Story 6, The Empty Chair at Every Table.
Oh, this one made me wince. I think a lot of listeners will recognize this. The protagonist is at her cousin's birthday party. She's a guest, but what is she actually doing?
She's refilling wine glasses, finding people's lost coats. She's jumping in to save awkward conversations. She's basically the roadie for everyone else's good time.
And she has this realization in the taxi home. She asks herself, when did I become the furniture?
It's a brutal metaphor, isn't it? Furniture is essential. It supports you, makes you comfortable. But you don't ask the armchair how its day was.
No, you just use it.
Yeah.
And she realizes her friends love her, but they've stopped noticing her.
That distinction is so vital. They love her service, but they don't know who she is anymore. The text mentions she has this really specific niche interest. She's into bird calls. She knows a chiff-chaff from a black cap.
Which is such a nerdy, lovely detail. It shows she has this whole rich inner life. But at the dinner table, she's just the one who finds the corkscrew.
So she makes a decision, and I love this resolution because it's not about causing a scene. She decides that at the next party, she's going as a guest. She's going to sit down. She's going to talk about bird calls.
Even if it's boring to other people.
Especially if it's boring. She's going to stop performing usefulness and start offering her actual self. If they're bored by her bird facts, well, that's fine. At least they're interacting with her, not a service provider.
It's shifting from being visible in your utility to being visible in your humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But to get to that point, you have to practice in private. First, you have to learn to do things that have zero utility for anyone else.
This is where the material moves from social boundaries to what I'd call aggressive solitude. We have two stories here that pair perfectly. Bread for One and The Garden.
Bread for One sounds like the saddest cookbook ever written.
It sounds lonely, but in the story, it's actually a celebration. The protagonist is an empty nester. Her kids are gone. She finds an old packet of yeast in the cupboard. She tests it and it froths. A small miracle.
So she bakes, but usually baking is an act of service, right? For a bake sale for your family?
Exactly. But there's no one there. She bakes the bread, the house smells amazing, and she eats a slice with way too much butter. And she has this epiphany. She says, I have been feeding everyone else for so long that I forgot I was also allowed to be hungry.
That's the core of it, isn't it? Being allowed to have an appetite that doesn't serve the group.
Yes. And we see the same thing in the garden story. A woman is clearing her garden in October. She's planting tulip and daffodil bulbs.
Which won't come up until spring, right?
Right. It's delayed gratification. It's hard physical work for a result she won't see for months. It's an investment in a future version of herself. She's learning that some things only grow when they're left alone.
Which is the total opposite of the fixer mentality. The fixer needs to intervene now.
The gardener trusts the process, but sometimes reclaiming that space isn't just metaphorical, it's literal. And we have to talk about story 8, the room they never let me finish. Because this poor guy, I felt his pain.
This is the dad, right? The one who keeps trying to build a quiet room for himself.
He tries 4 separate times. 4 times he tries to create a sanctuary.
And it's just a comedy of errors. The first time, the boiler breaks, so the budget goes there. Okay, that's life. But then he buys this really nice lamp.
And he comes home and it's in his daughter's room.
And the 4th time is the real heartbreaker. He researches the perfect armchair for weeks. He buys it, and within 2 days, his son has commandeered it because his gaming chair broke.
And he just lets it happen. He keeps yielding his space.
Until he doesn't. The resolution here is so powerful because he stops asking for permission. He just builds the room. He reclaims the chair. But the key detail is how he organizes the books.
Oh, I caught that. He doesn't alphabetize them. He organizes them by association. So poetry is next to football history.
It's a map of his own brain, a space that only makes sense to him.
And that's what makes it a sanctuary. The insight here is so crucial for anyone listening who feels guilty about taking space. A room of one's own isn't about retreating from your family. It's about having a place to return from.
That's great reframing. If you never leave, you can't really return. You're just hovering.
You're just part of the furniture again.
Okay, so we've established the mindset shift. Stop apologizing, stop being furniture, reclaim your space. But we live in the real world. My phone is vibrating right now. How do we actually do this?
The source material gets very practical here. It introduces the no as a practice. We have to look at story 5, when the phone stayed in the drawer.
The classic digital detox. But this one felt a bit more gritty.
Yes, it was about boredom and clumsiness. She puts her phone in the junk drawer, you know the one, with the dead batteries and sticky menus, and she leaves it there for the weekend. At first, she feels twitchy, not peaceful.
But then she starts doing things. She draws badly.
The badly is important. She's not performing, and then she cooks pasta, but by instinct. She doesn't look up a recipe.
She trusts her own hands.
Right. When you remove the constant digital input, you start to trust your own output again. She realizes the world managed perfectly well without her for 48 hours.
Which is a relief, but also kind of insulting to the ego, isn't it? Like, what do you mean the apocalypse didn't happen because I didn't check my email?
It's a necessary humility. We think we're indispensable, but often we're just addicted to the noise. And this is expanded on in story 4, a train ride nobody planned.
Oh.
A man takes a train to a random town just to sit still.
He reads a local paper about a prize-winning marrow.
A giant vegetable.
And he loves it. He feels this connection to the smallness of life.
It's because he's finally off the clock, and he compares himself to his father, who, he says, gave without remainder.
That phrase really stuck with me. Gave without remainder. It sounds like a math problem gone wrong.
It is. His father gave everything away to his job, his family, and when he retired, there was nothing left, just a shell. The son decides he doesn't want that. He wants to keep a remainder for himself.
And to do that, you have to say no. But that's terrifying. If I just start saying no to everyone, I'll lose my friends, I'll get fired.
And that's why story 9, Seasons of a Softer No, is so useful. It breaks it down into stages. You don't just wake up one day and become a boundary warrior. You build it up.
Okay, so walk us through the seasons.
Winter. That's the internal no. The private boundary. You turn your phone off at 7 p.m. You don't announce it. You just stop responding.
That feels safe.
Yeah.
Manageable. What's spring?
Spring is a little riskier. Spring is leaving a draining group chat. The story calls it the performance of contact. She realizes it's not real friendship, just noise. So she leaves.
Oof. The panic of that little notification. So-and-so has left the group.
It's awkward, but she survives it. Then comes summer. This is the advanced level.
The wedding.
She skips an acquaintance's wedding. She sends a gift, a lovely card, but she keeps her weekend for herself.
And I can hear listeners cringing. Skipping a wedding feels rude. Like breaking the social contract.
But is it? Or is it honest? If you go and you're resentful and tired, are you really being a good guest? She decides her presence should mean something.
And that leads to autumn.
By autumn, the no isn't a struggle anymore. The text says the no feels like the space between notes and music.
That is a beautiful line.
It's the philosophy of the whole collection. Without silence, music is just noise. Without the no, your yes has no meaning. It's just compulsion.
So, if we follow this path, if we survive skipping the wedding, what's the end game? What does a life look like when you stop vanishing?
That's the final story. The morning before anyone woke up. This is the synthesis of everything. It's about sustainable presence.
This is the mother who starts waking up at 5 a.m.
First by accident, then by choice. And the story draws this sharp line between 7 a.m. and 5 a.m. At 7, who is she?
She's mom. She's a function. Finding shoes, packing bags, checking schedules.
But at 5 a.m. in the dark kitchen, she's a person with a name. She goes out into the garden in her dressing gown. It's pitch black. And she hears a blackbird singing.
And she feels this connection. Just
Yeah.
her and the bird, the only two awake beings in the neighborhood.
It's a moment of pure existence. She isn't doing anything for anyone. She isn't fixing anything. She's just witnessing. Her husband asks her later what she does during those hours. Does she work? Does she exercise?
And she says, I'm just there, just mine.
Just mine.
Yeah.
That is the antidote to vanishing. You have to carve out a slice of time, a slice of space, a slice of identity that belongs only to you. Because if you don't...
If you don't, you give without remainder.
Exactly. And if you give without remainder, eventually there's nothing left to give to the people you love anyway. You're just a shell.
So that's the challenge for everyone listening. We're not saying you should become a hermit or, abandon your responsibilities. But we are asking you to look at the math.
Where are you giving without remainder?
Are you the furniture at the party? Are you writing mental apology letters for the crime of just being human?
Or are you just afraid of the silence that comes when you stop fixing things?
It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but maybe that's where you start. Buy a packet of yeast, turn your phone off for an hour, or just listen to the birds.
Find your quiet after the yes.
Because you don't owe anyone an explanation for existing, you just keep forgetting.
Don't forget.
Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.